Hey everybody, here we are on another Monday night. Fantastic. We have some news to go through. We will be doing a video this week about some of the updates in carrot bars and V999. We'll do that in a separate video and I'll email it out to everybody. There's been some activity there with the V999s. So it will be good to actually get all of that done and out of there. Hello, Mr. Martin. Hello, Ms. McCloskey. I saw Miss Kate on here before from Victoria. Now, all of us that made jokes about Victorians being in lockdown, you will notice that if you go outside in Brisbane and look up the street, there's nobody moving around. Apparently, we are in a lockdown for the next few days. So we're just trying to stay calm, make sure we've got a supply of red wine and get us through the next 3 days, because then it'll be Easter and we'll need some red wine because Jesus turned the water into wine and it would have been red wine because they didn't grow white grapes then. Now then, let's get in amongst this and we will talk about what's going on in the world. Everyone goes forward together, and we've got a picture that I meant to put in about Linus and everyone going forward together. We got it from Sir Geoffrey, so I'll have that in for next week. A very good little screenshot that he sent. So that is our tagline. We do mean it. We've gone a long way out of our way to build a business that caters to all the people that aren't networkers. So anybody that comes in to the AU4U business isn't a networker, they will still get a benefit. In fact, they'll get a tidy benefit because getting paid in gold is nothing to be sneezed at. Okay, let's get in amongst this. Welcome everybody. Here we go with our YouTube video. There we go, everybody. We'll have a new one of them out in a few weeks. So we're working very diligently to make sure that we get all the things that we promised in the pipeline. And wow, it's been a bigger task than we ever envisaged. It was not supposed to be this hard. When you look at the things that we're doing that actually have never been done before, it does make you wonder. And then you think about the effort involved and realise that's probably why no one else has done it. Anyway, we've started down this road. We will make sure that we continue and we'll bring everybody the solutions that we talked about. So everyone has a benefit in having a wallet in the AU4U system without any other issues. So I'm just losing track every now and then as I check things because our co-host system has failed tonight. Okay, let's go. Just remember, we are expressing our views. We are sharing with you information that we have worked out. We don't represent the companies. We don't speak on their behalf, and we don't give financial advice. It's a legal requirement that we say that every single time. So here's our sponsors. We're going to change up this system a bit next week. We're going to ask our sponsors and our members that have businesses to come on the webinar and talk about their business. So we'll get some different people to do some interviews and add it in. We have some further information coming from people like Mike Maloney, and we hope that we can get all of that put together in a format that will be easy for people to use. Easy shopping cards, BJS Urban, Loveday Vehicle Lubricants, Surefire Web, Skippy Pest Control, ComChoice. Phones. Want to do any shopping? Use Easy Shopping Cards. I had to go and buy a range extender the other night and went down to JB Hi-Fi, found what we had to buy, and she said, come over this way to the cash register. And I'm playing on my phone. She said, how would you like to pay for this? And I said, with a gift card. So while I was standing there at the counter, I ordered the gift card, got it on my phone and paid for it. Got a discount. It was very cool. And then, only then did I discover it was even on sale. So I got a bigger discount. It was very, very cool. So righto, why are we here? Well, you can look about the room that you're sitting in and wonder. But we are here because we're a group of like-minded people that are focused on ensuring we survive what's coming. And I can tell you, the research I did today for tonight's webinar, it was confronting. I spent about 2 hours just reading information. Once I started down that rabbit hole, and the next slide is going to be part of what I discovered today. Some weeks ago, I noticed a tweet from a lady in Sydney, and if you don't have Twitter, you won't really know too much about what a tweet is, but it's a short message. And she was complaining that she had been paying the Perth Mint for over a year to store her silver bars, not unallocated silver, but her silver bars that she had paid for and had been paying storage on them. Well, they didn't send them when she ordered them to be delivered. So there's been a Twitter war going on, but we've got some interesting information here. So this guy talks about the horror story of the Perth Mint clients, and they've not been able to get their silver. Now, Perth Mint is one of the reputable organisations in the world, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. But his claim there is Perth Mint have defaulted. When you see these numbers, you will see how big that is. Breakdown. The short answer is they don't have the silver. If a regular person sold 47 million ounces of silver they didn't have, what do you think would happen? There's now a group calling for the CEO to go to jail. I don't think that will happen because of who owns the Perth Mint. Yes, they do need to have some criminal proceedings started, but that we're not talking about 10 or 15 kilos. That's 47 million ounces. That is a lot of silver, and they don't have it. And it comes from their own records. So this guy has said he'd like to find out who the person was, and we have discovered the guy and how he did it. And Vivian, why this can't happen where our gold is this repository is a government-controlled business. Ours is private. I go to this vault and check what's there regularly. Firstly, it's a private system, so they have to comply with an audit. Perth Mint doesn't. They can tell you whatever they like. And here it is. So this guy said he'd like to find out because he estimates that there's only 4% of the silver that they've sold actually on hand. And this is not just silver that they've sold. This is silver that they have sold and been charging people for storage. So this lady in Sydney has been paying for storage for her silver bars for over a year. And when she went to get them delivered, they didn't exist. 4% of what they've paid for actually exists. 4%. So this is from where the gentleman got his figures. And there's actually, I'll put this link in the description of the video when I upload this to our YouTube channel so people can listen to it if they like. It said that there's 60 tonnes or 2 million ounces of actual live silver metal currently at the mint ready to refine. Okay? Given the calculations that were in that report and the CEO's statements, the certificates are actually only backed by about 4% of physical metal. Now, it appears that what the Perth Mint's been doing is instead of actually putting the silver in storage when you pay for it, they've been buying silver certificates, paper, funds. Now, the issue with that is people are now starting to turn up to collect their silver, and it's not there. So this guy has worked out through the calculation, and I went through the figures today on the website that he had them on, and yep, it did appear that his numbers were accurate. So who owns the Perth Mint? And this is why we have our bullion stored where we have it stored. The Perth Mint is operated by Gold Corporation, the Mint's owner. Have a guess who Gold Corporation is. It's a statutory authority of the government of Western Australia. It's owned by the West Australian government. That's why they're allowed to get away with doing things like they're doing, because they're the government. They change the rules to suit themselves. If you and I did it, what would happen? It's another government-controlled piece of accounting. And boy, you've got to look at that with a really blunt look at it. And yes, that would be a 5-letter word starting with F called fraud. And in principle, that's exactly what it is. Why would somebody do that? It's outrageous. There's so much information there about the amount of silver that's in the system, and yet they don't store it. They're charging people for storage on silver that doesn't exist. They've got the silver certificates in a filing cabinet. And yes, the Heineken flu and all of that stuff, it's very, very weird how they're getting away with it. And yes, Martin, it is no wonder they want to cede from the Commonwealth. It's great revenue for that government. So we see ourselves in the middle of something that's happening as we speak and while we're watching. We've been talking about shortages of metal for a while, and it just amazes me that it's so big. And yes, Jen, they should still be audited. But when you control the auditors, because you're the government, the auditors can use the silver certificates to make sure that the numbers add up. But in fact, they don't. It's a bit like when a company goes to buy an asset, it's on the balance sheet. So they need minutes, board to agree, financial controls, blah, blah, blah. But if they rent it long term, it's off balance sheet. No fiscal approval required. So it still costs the same amount of money, or in fact, renting it costs more, but they don't need all the fiscal oversight. So it's another one of those things that happen in the financial world that is disturbing. And man, if you could get away with that in the private world, you'd be very rich. Government gets away with it for some reason. Just like all of the hoopla going on about this virus. It's disturbing. Anyway, welcome to AU4U and our digital platforms. We are here to talk about being your own bank. And we've looked at literally hundreds of programs where we've been shown new wallets and DeFi and this and that. At the end of the day, the control is all held offshore. And I've been down that road and I'm never going there again. Everything we have in this business is built here in Australia. The arbitrage platforms will be running here in Australia. And that will be putting bullion in your wallet. I'm not about to go down the roads that we've been down in the past where everything's offshore and it looks really cool, and don't worry about the fact that they're not registered here. Don't worry about that. We're never going there again. Be your own bank. Have everything here. Physical assets, digital assets, and our own coin system. Now, we've built this coin system to solve a problem. Not for it to be an initial coin offering where the company executives buy themselves Ferraris and Bugattis and run off. There will be no ICO. The coin is designed to move gold around the world. And yes, there are lots of people that claim they can do it. We've had numbers of meetings with companies that tell me they've got the perfect solution. They don't. We wouldn't be doing this if they did. We'd be using an existing system. So there's enormous amount of work gone into making it work and making all of those things link together and talk to each other. So let's get in amongst this. This is a little bit of information from Mike Maloney. He's probably 8 or 9 minutes long, I think it is. And he talks about the everything bubble and what's happening. So let's have a look.
This first thing is an article of the day, and it's basically saying that the Biden infrastructure and job spending plan could total a whopping $4 trillion. Mike, I remember when this first came out, I think it was around $2.5 trillion. Then it was going to be $3 trillion. Now they're talking about $4 trillion just for the infrastructure spending plan. Mike, what's your reaction to this breathtaking amount of currency that's going to be spent?
We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. This is like if you had a plan to destroy the currency system, the global monetary system, because the global monetary system is based around the U.S. dollar. And to destroy a currency, what you do is you create a lot more of it. You keep on increasing the rate that you're creating new currency. And this is exactly what they're doing. I mean, they just, the $1.9 trillion bill, this is on top of that, isn't it? This is like spending for infrastructure and stuff. This isn't the personal, the stimulus checks. By the way, defibrillation of a dying patient, somebody that has had a heart attack and is going to die. Defibrillation is a form of stimulus. And
that's a good point.
And this is what they are doing. They've got a patient that you can see that this is. It's not going to. I've said this many times. It's just not going to end well. With what they're doing, the direction things are going. And it reminds me of a great Ludwig von Mises quote, Ludwig von Mises. There is no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about by credit expansion. And that's what we're doing. This is all based on credit. They're going to create new currency to support this. The alternative is only whether the crisis should come sooner as a result of voluntary abandonment of further credit expansion. Now, we know that won't happen. If they did, the free market would allow prices to stabilize in all of the different sectors. Some things are being blown into bubbles. Some things are deflating. We've got indeflation happening right now. But if they just stop, eventually the free market will balance things. But that's not going to happen. The other alternative here is or later as a final and total catastrophe of the currency system involved. Notice he says currency, not money. This was many, many, many decades ago. He knew the difference, and it is going to be a total catastrophe of the currency system involved. So that's my opinion on it. What's your opinion on all of these crazy spending plans?
It's just breathtaking to me, Mike, how much currency they're really going to push to these programs. And you're right, this is on top of the stimulus bill that's already passed. This is an infrastructure, clean energy, green energy, climate bill. And it's just a staggering amount of currency that's going to go to all these programs. And the point is, there is no free lunch. I still believe in that, even though gold and silver have been soft recently. I still believe in no free lunch, and there will be consequences to all this, like you've been pointing out for years. So, on to tweet of the day, Mike. This is from our friend David Morgan. He says, how far back do we go to see monetary demand for silver greater than industrial demand? Oh, yeah, when silver was known by all to be money. So he's making a great distinction there, too. And what he's showing here is a chart from SRS Rocco that physical demand actually just passed, is projected to pass in 2020, the demand for industrial use of silver, the first time in a long time. I believe the last time I saw that, Mike, was back in 2009. We all know what was happening then. So what do you make of this idea that physical demand for silver for investors is actually surpassing that for industrial demand?
Yeah, well, I've often said that the day that we're really going to see the fireworks in silver is the day that we have monetary demand, when people are trying to protect their wealth and they're all rushing towards it at once. I don't really think that we've seen anything yet. I do think that, lately, if you look at it, we're in a very weird spot where things could go up, things could go down. There's no clear direction. However, when you take a look at the commitment of traders and the inflows and outflows of transparent gold and silver holdings, you see that there's been more selling than buying lately. But the commitment of traders, the big commercial banks, have not sold their short position. They haven't covered their short positions. They haven't bought them back. I'm sorry, yet. Not all of them. They've reduced them a little bit, but they're still quite short. And so I think that there could be further consolidation here and pullback. But what we're doing, as far as technical analysis goes, we're building something called a cup and handle. which is one of the most bullish patterns that there is. And all it says is that things will one day explode to the moon.
On to chart of the day, and this is from Nick Jones. Steel prices. Good grief. I like that because look at that chart. Look at the price of steel of all things. And this, of course, corresponds to many other commodities that are going up. So I'm going to start calling it bit steel. Mike, what do you think of that?
Well, we've gone, the dip was down at around 500. It looks like even below. And we're up 1355 here. So, more than double in this is about half a year. This looks like a monthly chart here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up months in a row. There's two things that I get from this. It might be a good short if you're into that kind of thing. I don't short stuff. I'm not a great trader. I am an investor, and I look at the fundamentals of things. But this is also people feeling there's inflation ahead. When a fundamental commodity that's used throughout society more than doubles in price in 9 months, this is just that is a sign that there is inflation ahead sometime. Will it do a pullback first? Who knows?
Right. Good. I think it's pretty clear some level of higher inflation is ahead. So, well, on to some viewer feedback, Mike. This is from Blue Max. He says, we aren't coming into just another stock market crash or dip or decline. We are coming into the popping of the everything bubble, finally. So, Mike, what do you think? Is the timing about here that the stock market's going to pop?
Well, they've got everything so artificially inflated with all of the currency creation for the pandemic, for the regular deficit spending they were doing. Every time, government just does not have a concept of building a savings account. They do things like they lie to us, like they tell us that Social Security is going to be a savings account where, you pay into it now and you're going to be able to we're going to hold this for you and you're going to make interest on it, and then we'll give it back to you later. And, this is going to be tax free. Well, they keep on changing the rules, but the system is totally bankrupt because they've borrowed everything out of it. And now they're paying out more than they're taking in. So it's not going to last very long. And the government just doesn't have a concept of saving up for a rainy day. The government just doesn't have a concept of saving up for a rainy day. It's just a family cannot run their finances like this. Until just this century, a business could not run their finances like this. But now we've got all of these zombie businesses that when the next crisis hits, it's going to not just be a popping of the everything bubble. The currency system, that quote from Ludwig von Mises that it could be a final and total catastrophe of the currency system involved. With all of these bubbles popping, one of the bubbles is our currency system, and that's going to pop along with it. It's scary, yet it's one of the greatest opportunities ever presented in human history.
So isn't that interesting? The popping of the everything bubble. I think we're going to see some very, very torrid times in the coming months. I don't think it's very far away. When you start to run the calculations on how many tons of silver are missing from the Perth Mint, that's disturbing. It's a lot. So we're talking about making sure we have a system that can help us through this. And that's what we built Gold Rocks and AU for you for. It is designed to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to get a benefit out of doing something themselves. Yes, if you recruit people, there's an added benefit, but the system is designed around what you do. Not what everybody else is doing, just what you do. And yes, Dan, that's a scary number. So the reason we're here tonight is to make sure that you understand that you can be your own bank. Hold money in spendable assets, not in paper or plastic. Now, as time goes on, I'm going to hold some cash because you never know when you might need to run down the street and buy pizza. But most of my assets and the people that I'm dealing with is converting into metal. So that's what we've got to focus on. Our supplier history. The facility itself has a 60-year history of being a vault. And it's been there 60 years. The reason I like it is it's a private vault, as we talked about before. It's not government controlled. It doesn't report to a government system other than that required by law. But it does not report what is in the deposit boxes. Make sure you understand that. If you buy silver through the AU4U business, very soon we will be able to have a monthly audit on the website. Once we get the website bedded down a bit better and we can work out the actual numbers and make sure that everyone's wallets are accurate, we will start a monthly audit and we will make sure that those numbers stack up. So the facility being a vault for a long time, for me, is a very cool thing. And the fact that they've been 40 years in bullion, even better. Doesn't mean they're the be-all and end-all, but there's no scandal going on at the moment about how many thousand tons of silver are missing. Insurance is for full replacement value, and SMSF compliant means there will be certificates issued for the SMSF if it holds metal in that system. The buyback price is based on the current spot price. Now, let's be really clear about what the spot price means. The spot price is set in Australia by the Sydney Stock Exchange. But that has nothing to do with what it will cost you to buy metal. It's a rough, wet finger, hold it up in the air guide for what you might expect to pay. We found out just a couple of weeks ago that the suppliers that we're dealing with are paying spot plus now. They can't even buy the bullion direct from mints at spot price. They're paying spot plus. So based on the current spot price means the published price in Sydney, that will be the base for the calculation of your buyback price. And the spot price, that is spot plus, whatever the plus is, that's a whole different ball game. And we can't tell you what that's going to be until we go to buy metal. Silver in the periodic table of elements, and that's what one of the coins look like. They are very cool. I know Mr. McCloskey's got his heart set on a 5 kilo silver coin. And gold right below it in the periodic table. And look at that. They've been in use for a very long time. And I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. Simple and straightforward and transparent. Customers can set up an account for free, save in metal. Affiliates can earn gold just for being a member and doing what the customers do. Get paid in metal. There's terms and conditions. Yes, you've got to be in the system and be buying metal monthly, an entire $100 worth to qualify. You've only got to do it for 3 months, not 2 years or anything silly like that. And you will qualify to get your share of the member benefits. The wallet that's coming, we work on these systems every day. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, cash. You'll be able to trade between them. Now, it's not set up as a trading platform. It is not that. It is 4 wallets that will allow you to swap between them. That's what it's designed to do. Getting started, get one BV. It's $100 a month of gold or silver, whichever one lights your fire. At the moment, I'm buying more silver than I am gold. Share the value with others if you want to. Teach them how to start. Simple as that. That's it. And every single time gold moves or silver moves in the business, you get a benefit. You can expect things to get very ugly in the coming months. And we've talked about this a number of times, how the big banks and some government departments manipulate the price of metal. That will continue. You've just got to take a long view of it and say, well, there's obviously something here to be gained, so I'm staying involved. Prices are expected to rise due to inflation. And by inflation, we mean inflation like this. $100 over 20 years, you can see the value decreasing. And that same 20-year spread there was 54.28%. That's a lot in 20 years. And that's just silly amounts. And nobody's income has gone up by that amount of money. Self-employed people on the call, put your hand up if your income has increased by 54.28% in the last 20 years. Bet there's nobody. Even people like Kate, who are school teachers, supposedly their income is tied to CPI. Never works. They find ways to manipulate the CPI numbers so it looks like inflation's not happening. But you saw the numbers on steel. That's just crazy. Steel prices going up. Do you think it might impact the price of everything that we do? There's steel in most things. So if steel's going up like that, so is what you want to do. It will go up in price hugely. But don't you worry, the government says it's under control. It'll be maximum 2%. Well, a 2% over 20 years, that's more than 54%. Gold, on the other hand, has risen in value 325% in 21 years. Wish I'd known that a long time ago. I could have stashed some. This is how it compares against the currencies. And you can see what happens when they disconnect their currency from gold. That's what happens. It goes off the scale, down to effectively zero. And there's no way around it. So be prepared. Make sure you've got physical gold. Make sure you've got physical silver. And your digital assets need to be careful where they go as well. All of that's coming under our single umbrella. And nobody's laughing at it now. Now we're getting calls and emails from people around the world saying, how do we copy what you've done? Mike Maloney is creating his own gold and silver saving system. Yeah, I'll take that as a compliment. AU4U, this physical arbitrage is working. We're trying to make this as simple and as easy as possible so it doesn't rely on hands-on intervention, because that is what's going to put metal in your wallet. The wallet will pay you member benefits. It is not interest. It will not be calculated like interest. It's a member benefit based on the amount of metal that's in the system. The new website, it is operating. We're backwards and forwards. Cassie's had some problems from the rain with phone and internet service. We're trying to get the history, people's purchases uploaded into their wallets, and the system keeps dropping out. So we might have to organise a meet-up in Toowoomba or somewhere like that to make sure that we get it expedited. but it is working. So please be patient while we get this live testing done and get some links shared. Now, I just want to touch on a couple of bits and pieces of the business and how it works. So the sponsorship model in AU4U is similar to other businesses we've been involved with. And it's got two different models. It's a hybrid. So in the binary where you've got a left and a right team, Robert can use his link twice and register 2 people. If he uses the left link again, that person will go down there. If he uses the right link, person will go there. But what happens when Dan registers somebody? Well, they fill in. He can elect to fill in his system. Same with Jim. But, hey, when Dan registers with his right link, it goes down underneath somebody, and that's called spillover. Even though Tony is directly connected to Dan, they go into the binary in the legs underneath other people. I really like that because it lets people get a benefit out of what's happening in the team. So Robert's only used his right link twice, but he's got 4 people in that leg. So, but this is what the structure looks like as a direct and indirect level. So Robert sponsored 4 people, front line. Jim has recommended 1. Dan has recommended 2. That's where the income comes from in the short to medium term about collecting the commission from the metal, directly from the metal. So both systems operate simultaneously. It's quite cool. Really enjoy watching it work and really helping people get that functionality. So have a look at these new shirts. Doesn't that look cool? The girls designed these and came up with them. We've had a number of people that have spotted them on Facebook, wanted to know how to get one. They're expensive because we've got 2 logos embroidered on them. $60 is what they cost us. So there's no margin involved in it for anybody. But if you want one, the postage is a couple of dollars. We'll have to work that out depending on where you live. And the sizes come from small all the way up to 3XL. So I'm pretty sure we will get a shirt that fits you. I really like them. They look really sharp. Okay, so every week our news gets worse and worse and worse. And it continues to do so. But don't panic, Jonesy. We've got gold and silver, baby. And I really, really like the fact that we are at the forefront of giving people alternatives. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world that is new, like the DeFi systems that are coming out, decentralized finance. It's great, but it's not mainstream yet. It will be a long time before most of us have the opportunity to use it in a regular, everyday sense. We have here a system that lets you take advantage of what's happening in the world today. So, worldwide issues. Who said that? Really? Let's have a look at what this little collection that I came up with today looks like. So here's a podcast. This gentleman talking about, are you prepared? Guess what he's talking about? The collapse of the monetary system. Now, I didn't go a long way out of my way to find this list. This is just a collection, screenshots that I took. There were hundreds of them, and this is just what I found. So here's the next one. This guy's talking about hyperinflation. Now, when Gregory Mannarino talks about it, if he uses the wrong words, they won't process his videos. When, what's his name? Burr, whatever his name is. the guy that was in the movies, when he talks about it, he gets a visit from the SEC. A lot of these people are saying exactly the same thing. We are headed for hyperinflation. Hyperinflation. So we all need to have some protection. This dude was very cool. Stimulus plus inflation equals crash. No question. A couple of years ago, you could listen to the odd one of these and say, yeah, they're all a bit excited. Yeah, don't worry about it. It won't be that bad. But now there's hundreds of them. Forbes magazine. The stock market bubble will burst. Will burst. What's going to happen when that crashes? There'll be people jumping out of windows and all sorts of things going wrong. This is a very recent podcast, and yep, I think they're right on the money. Here's a dude that's got a Zimbabwe $10 trillion note in his background, and have a guess what he's talking about. Hyperinflation. Do we notice a pattern? There's hundreds of them. And it's not just one Fruit Loop every now and then talking about it. These people are well known. Forbes magazine is not a Fruit Loop organization. It's a mainstream paper. And this guy, yep, inflation. Very, very weird. So what do you think is going to happen? I absolutely agree with a whole lot of these people. I cannot see a way around it. And yes, Martin, George is fantastic. Some of these people have been doing these commentary bits for a long time, a very long time. So I just can't see how we get around it without, as Mike Maloney said, there has to be a crash. So Gregory Manarino, let's have a look at this. Vivian, I'll send you a link to that one that was on there. Let's see what Greg has to say, as he usually gets rather blunt. See how our internet works.
Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Manarino, and epic. What a day. What's going on? And we have a lot to talk about. So it is Thursday, March 25th, 2021. Let's talk about this near miraculous turnaround with regard to the stock market and why this happened and what is about to occur. So with regard to this market, I explained to you earlier that this market was set for a pan sell-off. That was this morning, and that did occur. At the market open, everything was lower. As a matter of fact, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down about 350 points earlier in the day. Well, all that changed. Stocks reversed, not only went positive, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 200 points. So we're talking about a 550-point swing in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And you should not be surprised about this. I explained to you pre-market today how the market would play out, and I told you this would be a buying opportunity. And guess what? It was. And it's going to be more of a buying opportunity. Let me explain to you what turned this market around, in case you don't know. Apparently, okay, this is what's being reported, an Iranian warship fired on and hit an Iranian cargo vessel. This is not good, but the market loved it. The entire energy sector was lower earlier today. The entire financial sector was lower today. Both of these made miraculous turnarounds. Crude oil took a hit today, but the market turned around in anticipation about what is going to happen, okay? This will not go unanswered. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind that there will be a retaliatory strike on Iran, and that is going to boost the price of crude oil. That's what the market is pricing in right now. That's why stocks turned around. It's an incredible thing to watch. But look, this is more than likely just another false flag, an excuse to prop up the markets, an excuse to prop up crude oil. Whether or not this really happened, you know what? We'll never really know, will we? But that's just a twisted environment we are in, and we have, again, a lot to talk about. I got to summarize this kind of quickly. So miraculous turnaround here in the stock market. Crude oil finished lower. Cryptocurrencies got hit. Gold and silver got hit. 10-year yield came down. Dollar higher. I explained this to you earlier. There's that fear in the market. But the market really did shrug that off once it heard that an Iranian cargo vessel was hit by an Iranian warship. Loved it. Nothing like a good war to boost the stock market, the stock market and crude oil. Is there now? Oh no. Imagine my shock. I'm shocked and surprised. Anyway, what I want to do is cover some stuff here with you people, so let's do that here. This is interesting. Real quick. So major banks, including JP Morgan and Citi, you're going to love this. You know what? Let me give you a background first. For years, I've explained to people that the major banks have trillions of dollars invested in energy, in crude oil. We're right here. Finally, Greg Mannarino is vindicated. This is the headline. Major banks, including JP Morgan and Citi, have invested at least $3 trillion in fossil fuels. Let me explain this to you. See this number of 3.8 trillion? It's not real. All right, and this is just these banks. If you were to look at how much cash these investment banks have invested in crude oil, and I'm talking about leveraged, it's in the many trillions, more than this country's gross domestic product. Okay, that's the truth. So you can understand the mechanism here. Whatever they got to do to prop up crude oil, they got to turn a ship sideways in the Suez Canal, which is still there, and apparently it's going to take a long time. Could be weeks before it gets out. Could be months if it just happens to sink by an accident. It would be a big accident if the ship sank there, wouldn't it now? Expect anything. Expect anything in this environment. Now here's a good one. Fidelity is going to launch a Bitcoin ETF. I'm intrigued. I'd like to see how this is going to work out here. So I will keep you posted on that one. Again, this cruise ship, it's still wedged in there. It's wedged in there real deep. Now here, we heard from Federal Reserve President Clarita today, and this is what he had to say. The Fed will support the economy until it's well and truly done. Well and truly done. Interesting choice of words. Here's my translation. The Fed will buy it all until they are well and truly done. And the economy will stay shut down. Oh, by the way, this is just terrible. In other parts of the world, and it's going to be here too, they're requiring COVID passports to enter businesses, probably shopping. That's going to come soon. It sounds biblical to me, almost like the mark, the mark of the beast here. You can't do anything. You can't transact unless you've got the mark. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Well, we'll see how that plays out here. Let us move forward a little further. Just lovely. Oh, here we go. Here's the headline. Cargo ship blocking the Suez Canal could take weeks to move. Well, and I followed up with, well, if this thing just accidentally sinks, it could take months to move. People, look, they have the perfect setup here. Yesterday, you witnessed what happened to crude oil after this ship got wedged in the canal. Crude oil fell today. Then all of a sudden, just out of the blue, this Iranian warship fires on an Iranian cargo ship. And, the stock market just turns around. Crude oil stabilizes. The market is smelling something. I am smelling something, and I'm sure you are too. This is a setup here. There is no way this is not going to go unanswered, and you can only imagine how this is going to hit crude oil. I told you, watch for a big spike. It's coming. Anyway, let us move forward here. Oh, this is Bloomberg. I just want to read the title. We must start planning for a permanent pandemic. Imagine how shocked I am. And Powell today, Federal Reserve Chairperson Powell compared the action that the Federal Reserve is taking now to the World War II Battle of Dunkirk. Why? What's your take on that? What is your take on that? It's pretty freaking epic, if you ask me. And he also said, now is not the time to focus on reducing the federal debt. All this thing here, this is me writing, this thing, he's a creature, talks about it, him and the other one, Yellen creature, over the past couple of days, is increasing the debt vastly. And it's an incredible thing. And the Fed, people, believe me, has not even begun to inflate. If you don't know, you probably don't even have an idea of what's coming down the pike here. But you can see the setup here. Oh, by the way, just so you feel better about it, AstraZeneca has now revised this data and says the vaccine is now 76% effective and it's safe. I wonder if they mean it's 76% effective. So does that mean it's 76% safe too for a disease process that is, well, about 98% survivable? Oh, and they're testing on infants.
Yes, an interesting view of the pandemic. And they're testing on infants. That is disturbing. Okay, everybody. Real physical gold and silver, that's what we're about. That's why we're here. And that's why we're going to make sure that everyone goes forward together. We have the ability, we have the knowledge, we have the skill sets, we have the connections, and you will have a wallet that you will be able to watch your gold grow. I had someone actually ask me on a presentation that I did recently, so what we're talking about is you're going to get paid in gold just for buying your own gold. Yep, that's how it works. That's us for today. Has anyone got any questions? We've had a few questions there and there about Gregory Manarino's comments. He got a little bit carried away about the ships. There is a report that potentially an Iranian vessel, warship, fired on an Israeli vessel. That's why he's concerned about the retaliation. So we are ready to go. If anyone's got a question, they can unmute. And if you need to do anything, ask any questions, please unmute or type, either or. We will make sure that you have the information at hand as you need it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will see you on the golden beaches of the world.